ladies and gentlemen, Bert is doing a speech level 3, a second speech under level 3 on his task, dynamic leadership. The speech is the social speech, is practicing to deliver a social speech. He chose an acceptance speech. So I don't know what Bert won, maybe a Grammy. People have been winning Grammys these days. Maybe he won a Grammy, and he's going to be accepting that Grammy tonight. And his speech title is Mr. Writer. Mr. Writer, Mr. Toastmaster.
And therefore, without further ado, we are pleased to announce the winner of the prestigious Blue Label Author of the Year goes to Bertus Naude.
I'm really grateful for this award. It's really a big honor. Mr. Toastmaster, gentlemen. I didn't start out as a writer. Instead, I started out as a consumer of that, what a writer produces. And that is a good story. My love for stories and my love for reading started at a young age. When I first learned how to combine the letters to form the words, and those words form sentences, and ultimately those sentences to form stories. I was always amazed at how quickly a good story can take you to another universe. Do you know what I mean? Reading a good book or enjoying a good story is like being in two realities at the same time. The first reality, the real reality of your life, and then this perceived or flight of fantasy reality that a good story provides. I remember in primary school we had a traveling library coming around once every 2 weeks or so. And it was a proper old bus converted into a library. And I remember queuing outside. And that excitement, that sense of feeling of, will I find that next book in my favorite series? Will I find that next Trompi, or Jasper, or Die Eile? But my favorite was the Fritz Deelman sci-fi saga. I truly enjoyed those books. And then when you get off that bus, with your little treasure, your 3 to 4 books stuck in your arm, you can't wait to start reading those stories. And I guess that's where my love for stories kind of evolved into my love for writing those stories. Again, that didn't happen overnight. I remember looking up to all those essays we had to write in high school. But that all changed when we had to submit a series of short stories about the theme of our choice. And I chose to write about pets, the concept of pets. And I started slowly, but as my mind got into the challenge and my imagination took flight, and I started putting all these strange and wonderful ideas together, I really ended up enjoying myself to such an extent that I loved reading my own story back to me. My initial attempt was relatively well received. I had the privilege of having a great teacher at that point who pointed me out towards a couple of things. Specifically, to change the ending here and there and change some of the material. The end result was that I managed to publish that same story in a popular magazine later that same year. And the rest, as you know, is history. But being a person who writes for a living and produces these great stories is definitely not a one-man show. And here I have to give credit, first of all, to my parents, who instilled in me a love for reading and stories at a young age. And for my wife, who always believes in me and supports me even while I'm having these weird and strange and wonderful ideas. And no good book can ever see the light of day without having a great publisher and in my case a great editor and a good friend, a man by the name of Benjamin Bookworm. Mr. Bookworm, I thank you for your course correcting advice through all the years. And then last but not least, my readers. I've been in love with my stories forever, and I guess most of you like them too. I just hope that my stories continue doing for you what every good story should do. And that is make you forget the real stuff weighing down on your mind for just a while. Take you to a place you've never been. I believe that's the most amiable sort of magic. Mr. Toastmaster.